So this is unfortunately a very sobering slide, but is the foundation for why we are having this meeting tonight. As a result, you do see that at the end of the 5 years in 2022, we do end with a projected fund balance of $240,000, and that is all fund balance. And our 10% reserve requirement is $10.5 million. One of the major issues is the PERS rates. Unfortunately, PERS has kept that discount rate at 7.5. Actually, it came down from 7.75 a few years ago, but it's still extremely high. They haven't received those kind of returns for years, but they've been very slow to act, unfortunately. And as we all know, I think most of you were on the council when Joe Nation was here back in 2013 and gave this exact message that PERS would need to be taking some action. It's just taken some time to do that. So that is a big impact on the city, and we'll be talking about that more this evening. But also in that 5-year projection, I do not have any growth in expenditures other than the PERS and the healthcare costs. We need to look at some increases in our revenues. I had taken the liberty of increasing our fees in the forecast by about 3% a year just in the future, just to reflect the cost of our operations. This shows you a chart of the revenues and expenditures over the past 8 years since the recession, and you'll note that back in 07-08, we did have that same structural deficit that we have now, structural deficit that we have now. So to prevent going under that line, we are looking at some major decisions to come up with in the next couple of years on how to move forward with the city and its budget. This is a chart that shows you what we have learned recently from PERS. On the top part of the slide, it shows you the miscellaneous rates as they were back then, as they are today. So miscellaneous, we are currently paying 18.036% for miscellaneous, and the city is paying 46.221 for safety. Because of the lower discount rate, over the next 5 years, we expect those rates to go for miscellaneous from 18.036% to 36.2%, which is essentially double. Our safety rate of 46.221% goes up to 82.9%. These are estimates that are straight from our PERS actuary. He actually did those calculations, so I asked him to double check because I was surprised that they were as high as they were, but he confirmed that these are the estimates as they stand right now.
Breaking this down into simple terms, let's take that 82.9%. So in simple terms, for every dollar that we pay safety, we have to pay another 82.9 cents to PERS.
That's correct.
Thank you.
In 5 years. Moving forward, this is obvious that we do need to move expeditiously to preserve our fund balance so that we don't lose it. We do need to look at new and increased revenue sources. We can't continue to cut the budget without impacting services. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, we have cut so many employees that if we cut many more, we are really in danger of, not being able to function properly. I
think that's an overstatement, Ms. James.
Well,
I mean, this is a line that, I'm sorry, staff always says. They always pull out public safety and kids and say there's just no place else to cut.
I'm getting to that. Let's move on in a couple slides, and I'll show you that. So, for instance, we have a $2.5 to $3 million budget deficit. Let's just say that we need to close that $3 million gap. So that would mean cuts of 3.5% per department. across the board if we all shared equally. Now, police and fire are 71% of the general fund budget. A 3.5% reduction in PD equals $1.5 million or 9 officers. Fire, 4.5 firefighters. If we keep those out, it means an 11.5% reduction to everybody else. We can't do that because that is millions of dollars to other departments. That's the entire community development department. That's most of Parks and Rec. That's most of the library. So to say that we can just cut more people, it really wouldn't work. We would have to contract out services if we were going to do that. And increased fees and maybe even taxes everything has to be out on the table at this point.
Reality is what you have had presented is what will happen if we simply do that which we always have done.